In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 different ways to make passive income. I'll apply my own opinion and assessment matrix to each method, evaluating how difficult they are in 3 aspects. So number 1, how hard is it to get started? How hard is it to make $100 a month? And how hard is it to maintain an income? And each method will be given a rating out of 5 in these categories. 1 meaning very easy and 5 being very difficult. Now with a caveat, none of these will make you large sums of money, but an extra $100 or so a month is always a helpful amount. So firstly, what is passive income? There's really no such thing as passive income. There's no way to make money without doing anything. When I say passive income, I mean money that's not directly tied to our time. Let's say you were to write a book, you publish it, and that book is now on bookshelves. You've done the work once to write the book and find a publisher. Now, every time someone buys a copy of your book, you make money from something called royalty. That's passive income. And you could literally be making money while you sleep because you've created a product that's out in the world generating income for you. The other thing with passive income is that it always takes a very long time to get going. So if you see advertisements about how you can get rich quick, or if people tell you to message them if you want to make money quick, that's all a scam. And that kind of stuff doesn't work. Ultimately, money is just a medium for exchanging value. The only way to make money is to provide value. And the only way to make passive money is to provide value in a way that's not directly tied to your time. Now we've established the only way to make money is by providing value. So let's talk about some of the different ways you could potentially provide value that generates passive income. The first one is invest in stocks and shares. When we buy stocks from a company, we're giving them our money. This is a way of providing value, so it makes sense that we would get some kind of return for that investment. We're starting with this because investing in stocks is the easiest way to make any kind of passive income. Let's say you have money in a savings account and it's earning 0.01% interest. It's not really doing much for you. Now, if you were to put those same savings into stocks, you could potentially be earning passive income from money that would otherwise just be sitting there. So when you're getting started with stock market investment, conventional wisdom would advise you to invest in an index fund. And most of my money that's in the stock market is invested in such funds. An index fund is something like the S&P 500 or the FTSE 100. If you invest $1,000 into the S&P 500, that's money basically distributed amongst the top 500 companies in the United States. And if you go down the list, you might not have heard of the 500th company on that list, but ultimately you end up investing a little bit in each of the US stock market's biggest companies. So how hard is it to get started investing in stocks and shares? I'd give this 1 star. All you really need to do is sign up with a stockbroker, and there's plenty of options out there. Whatever country you're based in, you just have to Google stockbroker and what country you're in. This will then lead you to a service that works for you. After that, it's very easy to just invest in an index fund. And how hard is it to make $100 a month from the stock market index? 3 stars. This factor can actually be highly variable because it does depend on the overall performance of the stock market. For example, from 2020 to 2021, the S&P 500 had actually increased by about 50%. That was a big increase, especially considering how COVID impacted the markets. So if you'd invested $2,400 into the S&P 500 in April 2020, you'd have made $100 a month over the next year. Now obviously this isn't the best way to assess this factor. The stock market goes up and it goes down, and its performance varies depending on the time period that we're considering. But if we average out the last 3 decades, the S&P 500 has had roughly a 10% return. So that means every year, on average of the last 30 years, it went up by about 10%, and this isn't inflation adjusted. So if we do some quick calculations, you want to make $100 a month, which is $1,200 a year. Going by our average figure, your annual returns will be 10%. This means your initial investment would need to be $12,000. Over time, our initial investment also compounds. So if you put $7,500 into the S&P 500 and leave it there, after 5 years you'd be making roughly $100 a month. Overall, how hard is it really to make $100 a month in passive income from stocks and shares? Now really all of this just depends on how hard it is for you to collect $5,000, $7,500 or $12,000. And crucially, this is money that you shouldn't need to touch in the next 5 to 10 years. If you're in the UK or the US, where the median salary is around $50,000, it's not that hard to accumulate that $10,000 in savings. Now obviously if you're supporting a family of like 15 people on $50,000 a month, then it's a very different situation to that of a single person. How hard is it to maintain an income from the stock market? 1 star. Once you've saved up enough money and invested it, you can just leave it there and forget about it. There are other sources of passive income that require higher degrees of maintenance, but stocks and shares are a very easy way to make passive income. Number 2 is sell a digital product. Digital products are products that you can create once, like an ebook or an app. Once you've created it, you can sell it as many times as you like. This is because selling digital products doesn't usually have any cost associated with it. One really good example are people who make website templates and themes. You can put all the work into making a good template and sell it for maybe $20 or $30. I have one friend who does this and makes a few $100s every month consistently because people like his template and are willing to pay for it. Now, how hard is it to make a digital product? I would give this 2 stars. Technically, anyone can write an ebook and that would count as a digital product, so it doesn't have to be that difficult. But like I said, money is an exchange of value. So obviously the thing that you're selling has to provide enough value for people to want to buy it, and that's often quite hard, especially if you don't have any experience with creating a product. And how hard is it to make $100 a month by selling a digital product? 3 stars. It's very easy to create an ebook. Getting people to actually buy it is a whole different ballgame, and this applies to whatever product you create, whether it's a website theme or an app. The market around this stuff is very competitive, and your product has to be genuinely really good for people to want to buy it. The way to make a good product is to first identify a problem that people have. Then you find a way to solve the problem and charge money for it. If you can do those 3 things, then making $100 a month is very doable. You just genuinely have to be selling a product that solves a pain point well enough for people to want to buy it. And how hard is it to maintain an income from a digital product? 2 stars. While you have to maintain your product a little bit, that's often much easier to do than creating the product in the first place. Number 3 is starting a business and automating it. Another way to generate passive income is to create a business that sells goods or services. Then you can automate or even delegate aspects of that business so that the income that you generate from it is reasonably passive. And this is the sort of stuff that Tim Ferriss talks a lot about in the 4-Hour Workweek. There's a number of businesses that you can start in which you'd be selling a good or a service, and then you can delegate, outsource, automate in intelligent ways to make that income passively. And for example, I have a friend who makes candles and sells it on his Shopify store. He designs, manufactures and sells the product. Loads of work went into first setting up the store, but now he's got a team that manages it for him, so he spends proportionally less of his time running that business. I know another person who runs a Facebook ads marketing agency, and his clients pay him a few $100s a month to manage their Facebook ads. So he initially has to put in the work to set up the ads, and after that it's automated and he's got a team that he delegates it to. He also uses tools like Zapier to automate aspects of the business, so each month he has a very small amount of actual work to do to keep the business ticking along. How hard is it to start your own business? So I would give this 4 stars. Creating a business is quite difficult. You've got to identify a way to provide value to people, then you've got to find a way to fund your operation, and it's kind of like opening up a whole can of worms. How hard is it to earn $100 a month from a business? Again, I would give this 4 stars. So to make money from your business, you've got to be providing value, and that can be hard. It's not as easy as making an account on a stock market platform and just putting some money into various businesses. You actually have to give value to someone. How hard is it to maintain an income from your own business? I would give this 3 stars. Like with anything, once you get started and get the business up and running, maintenance is a little bit easier. And number 4 is build an app or a website. You can also try to generate passive income by building an app, a website, or some kind of software product. You can then sell these products with one-off payments, or something which is a little bit more common nowadays, which is a subscription service. There's a whole category of such products called software as a service, or SaaS. If you go online and look at the website indiehackers.com, there are hundreds of people who make passive income through their software businesses. They talk about how they got started and share tips. How hard is it to build an app or a website? I would give this 4 stars. Now, you could build a website that sells software as a service. For example, educational services sell well. So it could be like a question bank for students who want to apply for certain universities that have an entrance exam. Or it could be selling pre-recorded courses and selling access to it. Making an app or a software is actually quite hard. For one thing, you've got to know how to code. You also have to come up with an idea that's compelling. Then you actually have to build it, which takes a lot of work. So how hard is it to make $100 a month from your app or your website? I'd give this 4 stars. Once you've made an app, you need to get people who are willing to pay for it. So that means you need to market it and position it well so that people will buy it. How hard is it to maintain an income from your app or your website? 3 stars. So as with everything else on this list, once you've created the app and begun to sell it successfully, the maintenance is again a little bit easier. And number 5 is learning how to edit videos. Learning how to edit is becoming an increasingly popular skill set that people need or will pay for. Lots of companies now want to reach their customers through a video format. So videography and editing are fast becoming high in demand skills. So it is worth learning. How hard is it to edit edit or to learn to edit, I would give this maybe 3 stars. It can be quite hard in the initial stages when you're learning how to use different softwares and learning how to effectively do an A, B and C cut. You need to learn about animations or to have lower thirds appear on screen, integrate B-roll and background music. But once you get an idea for what you need to do, then each time it does become a little bit easier and makes the work a bit more routine over time. How hard is it to make $100 a month to edit? I would give this 2 stars. To actually make money from this, you need to get good with your editing and have a portfolio of work. You can then show this to potential clients. And that can be difficult sometimes as each person has a different style, so you need to accommodate for their version. But if you approach a company or a small business, they'd likely be willing to pay you to edit a video. So if you're able to get consistent work, then this shouldn't be an issue. How hard is it to maintain an income from editing? I would give this 2 stars. Once you've managed to land a client or have a client base, it can be quite easy to maintain that. So long as they're happy with your work, they'll continue to work with you. Thanks for watching. Those were just a few ideas on how you can make some extra money. If you liked this video, you might want to check out this video over here.